morning, everybody, and welcome to Jake and Joe's in Waltham, right off Route 128. It's great to have you with us for another edition of the BC Football Show on a rainy Monday night. Good to see Coach Steve Addazio. Welcome back. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, John. Yeah, great. It's Monday to the world and Wednesday to us.
Yes, it is. I was going to say your world's flipped a little bit here. We didn't see you last week with Labor Day, but a 2-0 start. First time in 3 years you're 2-0. Looking to go 3-0 on Thursday night. And how unique is this for you playing on a Thursday night? What does it mean?
Well, it just altered our week. You know, I mean, Sunday we were right back in it, and Sunday was our Tuesday. So we had to review the game, but really have a Tuesday game weekday. And then, Monday became our Wednesday, which was today, and tomorrow's our Thursday. I know it sounds crazy, but so, we're leaving Wednesday to go down to North Carolina and get going and open up conference play. So there's a lot going on right now.
You sat on the sidelines on Saturday against Holy Cross. The game was never in doubt. A valiant effort by the Crusaders, a feisty group, 62-14, but that type of ease, when you let the gas off the pedal a little bit at the end of the first quarter, was that your mindset anyway going in?
I mean, I wanted to get our guys off the field, and, you struggle with when is it time to pull them off, and I just, probably would have been nice to go another quarter or something, but to risk injury at that point, I thought the harm outweighed the good. So we pulled them off a little too early probably, and you just get yourself out of whack. You lose your chemistry, and the kids sometimes throttle down, and it just gets like, we got a little, whatever for a couple series, and then we came right back at it. But, we have a fresh tailback right now. We got a fresh quarterback. We got some players that feel more fresh. So in the big scheme of things, it worked out, and it's not like we're trying to race up the score or anything against Holy Cross. That wasn't anywhere near our intent. So I think, we got our win, and we're getting ready to roll into conference play.
Yeah, you're on schedule, and I think this is probably the way everybody drew it up here. The fact that your offense, though, Coach, 5 out of your last 9 games dating back to last year, you're over 500-plus yards.
Yeah.
When did the light go on?
Well, I just think it's talent, and I think we're settled in and comfortable in what our scheme is. I think our players understand what we want to do. I think our talent matches what we want to do. I think, we've recruited well and developed well, and I think we're feeling the effects of that right now. Now, we got to stay healthy with all this stuff, as we say every week in here, but I think we're an explosive team on offense right now.
You are. There's no doubt about that. It seems like every game you have 6, 7, 8 explosive plays. Is this the fastest team you've coached?
Oh, yeah. I mean, here at BC,
yes,
without a doubt. I mean, this is a fast team now. It's a talented, fast football team. And, and it's got some good size to it, too, like a traditional BC team would have.
Yeah, and you've done a tremendous job building that line. I think you talk to BC fans, it's always about A.J. Dillon, maybe Anthony Brown. But for me, it's up front, because that group, I think, is the best in the ACC, or has the potential to be the best in the ACC. What are they doing right?
Well, I mean, you talk about the guys that have had a lot of experience, game experience, and I think they're playing with confidence. I think we have some depth. We're physical. They understand football. They're smart, and I think we've got a real shot when you have a good line like that and a quarterback that can throw the ball and make plays, and then a big back and big tight ends that can run. And we have speed in the perimeter. So, I mean, like, we can do all of those things, and so we just got to keep that consistency going.
And you have an opponent this week in Wake Forest who mirrors you a little bit in terms of a tempo, up-tempo. Dave Clawson likes to run the zone read. Saw a little bit of that this week. What's the biggest concern when defending them?
They're different. They're an RPO team. They're going to throw those, run-pass options where, he's over-sinking the ball, and based on your coverage, decide whether he's going to make you defend the read zone game or he's going to pop out, pull it, and throw it, combination routes out there. So the uniqueness of them is that they ride the ball for a really long time and get you to pull off of that coverage and then all of a sudden bang you. So they're different, and they've always been good on defense. They've got good, talented players. They're physical. Their scheme is challenging. They're a good football team. And so, I mean, it's a different kind of team than what we've played. Maybe a little bit, some few plays that Holy Cross ran, but really different than what we've seen.
And Hartman is their quarterback, rookie, freshman, prolific high school career, 9,300 yards, one of the top high school recruits they probably had there in a long time. Looks a little bit like John Wolford in terms of his grittiness and his feistiness.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, John Wolford was the all-time leading passer in Florida or something. I mean, he's a lot like John. Looks like he's got the it factor, you know. He's got that leadership, you know, and he's made a lot of plays for them. I mean, he's a good player.
And your defense over the first 2 games, are you pleased with how they're developing?
Yeah, I mean, you know, again, I think very much so. I think we have, you know, real talent on that side of the ball. I think the uniqueness of the scheme we're going to face is a little different and probably will pose a few challenges for us. Like, we can give our defense, because we're pretty multiple on offense, we can give them a lot of the looks they're going to see at a good rate of speed. But this particular style of read zone RPO game is even a little different for us. So we're trying to really give them a quality look where we can so they can really feel the speed of the game they're going to feel against Wake with the uniqueness of the offense.
What do you learn when you sit down and watch them beat Towson 51-20? Do they have the same feeling maybe when they watch you beat Holy Cross 62-14?
Yeah, probably.
Right.
I mean, I think it's, you know, their 2 games and our 2 games are probably somewhat similar games. I think both teams go in there and probably hard to assess, you know, exactly where each team is at because you're not really looking at them up against the same kind of opponent, you know.
Yeah. And
you know, I mean, I think UMass, was probably a little better team than people think it was that we played week 1.
I agree.
You know? They played Tulane. It's 2 totally different teams, you know. But they haven't really played a team like us, and we haven't played a team like them in terms of scheme. So there's nothing really to look at, you know.
One thing that they do have that we definitely know about is Greg Dortch.
Yeah,
who's one of the best receivers in the country and best punt returners in the country. He had 2 punt returns for a score on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem with them. I mean, that kid is an electric all-ACC level player that can change the game, both in the, throwing the ball, catching the ball, and also in the special teams. So we got to be really careful with him. And and he's good, and the quarterback can get the ball to him. So that combination you got to watch out for. And when those offenses have that combination, that's tailor-made for them.
And when we should have probably talked about this right off the top. If you're looking at this game on Thursday night, the one thought is the weather. What's the deal with the weather? I've heard it for the last 2 days.
Right.
Are you going to North Carolina? What is the deal with the weather? Do we know?
Well, I mean, I don't think we really know. Right now, I'm getting ready to leave for North Carolina and go play the game. I mean, we want to get this game played. So I just don't know. I think the powers to be will assess each day. We'll assess it tomorrow probably. But in our mind, we're locked and loaded and ready to go play this thing on Thursday and get it going. So no one's going to put anybody in harm's way, but we want to play the game.
I did hear Connor Strahan say today that one thing about BC, they're used to playing in bad weather, especially with the Fish Fieldhouse wasn't there. You got them out there in pestilence. Everything was flying. And those guys, they like to play in that type of weather.
I mean, they're used to sudden change, Every year, like, all of a sudden, we got to drive to Foxborough. It's raining out. We got to go play in some indoor soccer stadium. We got to change what time we're practicing. Everything's pushed back an hour and a half. I mean, sudden change is the norm at our place. So we're prepared for anything, not really worried about it. And
with the Fish Fieldhouse on the or now their coach, what does that mean to your program?
Well, it's an elite facility to develop our athletes. In terms of the new weight room, in terms of the indoor, the technology in there, the new field outside. We have an elite training facility that is year-round, and that's critically important for us, especially in the climate that we're in. And other sports have the opportunity as well to be able to, not have to, it's not just about like, hey, it's bad weather. Sometimes you just can't go out.
Right.
And then in the off season, in the dead of winter, it's snow covered. You say, well, we have the bubble, but the problem with the bubble started to become they have all these new wind regulations with the bubble. So you get some bad weather, you couldn't go in there either. So, I mean, now that's alleviated. And in probably the harshest climate, maybe next to Syracuse in the ACC, we have a state-of-the-art, cutting-edge facility that our athletes can train in and prepare in and develop in.
Yeah, you can't put a value on what it means for recruiting, right? It must be an amazing game changer.
Yeah, well, I mean, recruits come up and and they see something that has a wow factor to it. All across the country, there's wow factors everywhere you go. This has got a little wow factor to it, and you know, recruiting is a sales job, and in sales, you're trying to find some wow factor, along with the meat, you know.
Right, and we've seen the first 2 games, UMass and Holy Cross. That's coming to roost now with players like David Bailey, who had another big game on Saturday.
Right.
You're getting backs into Boston College. You're getting athletes into Boston College that we really haven't seen before. These guys are game-changing recruits.
They are, and you know, obviously, you know, we got to keep that going. And I think there's great momentum right now at BC. I mean, from an athletic department, there's great momentum. From a university, there's great momentum. And we've got to capitalize on that. And that's what it is. It's about having a great product. It's about having momentum and positivity. And I think this is, you know, the fish loss is another thing to show the program is where it wants to move and where it wants to go. And I think that's really, really significant and important. Again, the largest facility boom happened in the last 12 to 15 years. And, you know, we're showing that we're going to get on board, at least to the degree that we want to have things that help our players develop.
Yes, and quarterbacks are developing too. We saw that last 2 weeks. E.J. Perry, Matt Mcdonald, both have flashed. I know you've been a huge E.J. fan since he came here, but it seems like Matt McDonald's kind of come on the radar this year. What's he doing well?
Yeah, Matt's a really outstanding player. I mean, Matt has got great anticipation. He sees the whole field. He's very accurate. And you saw evidence of that in the game. And he and E.J. are 2 really talented young quarterbacks that we're really thrilled to death. And we have another couple in our program, and Johnny Langdon and Matt Bellecci. So there's a quarterback room here now. There's a whole room of quarterbacks that all have the ability to excel in our league. And that's critically important. You know, I know when I got here, we did not have depth in that quarterback room. And so we had to restart after, you know, Chase left, and it was, you know, not a good situation there. So, you know, we've got that recentered, and you better have that right. And it took us a while to get it right. You know, it's not easy, you know, and so that's an important deal.
And it's recentered with Anthony Brown. Looks very healthy, looks composed, looks competent. What does he have to do to continue his maturation?
Well, I just think, you know, again, he hasn't played 12 games yet. I mean, I think he's going to be one of the truly great players in the conference if he can stay healthy and grow, which he will. He's a great kid, high character, smart guy, works hard, loves football. He's going to continue to get better. And the supporting cast around him is going to continue to get better. And I think that combination is going to be an unbelievable combination working forward in the future.
If you were to pick a single element for quarterback success coming into the ACC, what is it?
I think you got to have the it factor. I've always felt that way. They come in all different shapes and sizes, and who throws it better, who runs it better. But at the end of the day, you know, like Anthony's like a little Pied Piper, you know what I mean by that? He's got that personality. People will follow him. And I think you need to have that dynamic personality, and I think you need to have that character and it factor, and he has that. And so that coupled now with a good-sized guy who can throw it, he can read the field, he can run it. I mean, he's going to be a formidable weapon in the conference.
How do you get him prepared on a weekend, you and your coaching staff, week in, week out basis? What's Anthony Brown's week like?
Well, each week it's gotten more and more in terms of the physical part of the game, right? He's taken a lot of reps, but, you know, he's a student of the game. And he puts a lot of time and a lot of hours in this thing on his own with Scott Loeffler, and he's got a passion to be great. And his week is a long, hard, busy week because, you know, there's a lot of academic challenges at Boston College now. It's not like you can just show up or something. So he's a true student athlete, and you know, he's got to put a lot of extra time on his own into that football component to play at the elite level.
And it looks like he's well on his way to being an elite quarterback. This is the BC Football Show from Jake and Joe's in Waltham. We're here every Monday night from 7 to 8. Coming up, we'll hear more from Coach Addazio. A special guest will drop by, one of the BC legends. I think this guy named Pete Cronin might be here, too. We'll have to check the back room here at Jake and Joe's.
Yeah, he's so skinny now. He tried to slip in where we wouldn't really see him, but we saw a handsome guy, and it only could be Cronin. That's all it could be.
Wow. Quite high praise from Coach Steve Addazio. Pete Cronin, good to see you. Welcome to the BC Football Show with Steve Addazio.
A little tardy, but I have a good excuse.
Yes, well, somebody had to play golf today in this rain.
No, I think I was raising money for St. Edward's Parish in Medfield.
There you go.
So I got that taken care of, but I scooted right over here. With the thank you very much for the helicopter, Coach. But the I was able to get here in time. But no, there were no helicopters.
I was at the Patriots yesterday. Guess who comes in the helicopter now?
Trump.
Robert Kraft.
Oh.
I was there in May when the helicopter came down out on the practice field. Got a little helipad, whatever they call it.
Helipad.
Yeah.
It's a big one too. That's not a little one now.
Do you have a Santa suit on? That's like memories of Shopper's World. Santa Claus coming in the helicopter.
A little early for that, but you never know. But that run, Coach, 74 yards. Pete and I were talking about it on the air. I don't care who you were playing. That was one of the best runs I've ever seen. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, kept his balance and just in the hustle from C.J. Lewis and Jeff Smith down the field for the blocks that actually sprung him into the end zone was really, really impressive. And so I thought there were some beautiful runs. He made some great cuts and breaks, and you get that. He's a big man with speed out there in the perimeter. He's dangerous in the perimeter like that. It's hard on guys.
It was impressive to watch him wait for his. Once he broke a couple of tackles, and then he outran a guy, and then a guy had a little angle on him, and then he waited for the wave. And they slowed down a little bit. Said, "Come on, guys, come on!" And they came, and boom, boom, boom. Yeah. Just a spectacular run.
Yeah, he was a great job. Yeah. And we haven't seen, him in that 30 carry mode yet. But that'll become.
I'm assuming Wednesday night that might be or Thursday night that might be coming. But when you took him out of the game, you said, "Hey, great job, 6 carries, 149 yards, 3 touchdowns. Your day's over." What was his response?
He smiled. I said, "Listen, we got to get ready to go conference play next week." I said, I know there's a lot of yards to be had here, but at the end of the deal here, it's all about staying healthy, and we got to get ready for the next week and keep yourself fresh." And he understood. He laughed, and that was the end of that story.
It's amazing the numbers you've put up since Dylan has been starting. 478 yards of total offense since Dylan became the starter, and 39 points per game during that time spent. That's 12th national.
Yeah, I mean, I think the emergence of Anthony and AJ together just leads you to, once again, what's it about? You have to have a quality quarterback, and you got to have explosive players. And I think, that's what you're seeing the effects of. And people talk about offense and, what do you got to do to get the offense? Well, you got to get a quarterback, and you got to get some speed and some players that can create explosions. You just need that, And if, we're not just a one-trick pony either. I mean, we can... we have a good short play action game, and then we can hit you with some strikes as well.
We were looking at the game Saturday, probably not a very good indicator because of the opponent. They gave it all they had. It was over quick, but we didn't have a chance to visit on the UMass game because of the holiday. But looking back at that game, I was very impressed with. I know your intention was to go in there and get number 2, a lot of tugs. The diversity in your offense, especially the tight end position, really it just jumped at you. And if I'm a defensive coordinator looking at just that game, if that's any indication, and we know that you've got receivers too, and you've got some depth at running back, I mean, you're going to be a hard team to defend.
Well, that's the goal. And, I think week 1, I think I had told you that, I didn't want the game on Anthony's shoulders week 1. I thought his first game back, we needed to make sure that we built confidence. But once he came out and the way he was playing, he was on fire, then we just said, let's roll with him. Let's go. And we did. And that's over. Now it's about, the distribution of it all now, and I think that's critically important. But, of course, never failing to keep in the back of your mind that, the difference maker's got to touch the ball a lot of times. And what we haven't felt yet as a team, which is something I'm worried about a little bit, is just, in these ACC games, what makes us, I hope, difficult is the wear and tear that's going to go on for the first 3 quarters. And then you get back in that end of that 3rd quarter and that 4th quarter, that's when you start to see the wear and tear on the defense and on the defensive backfield. And that has not really come into play yet, So I think that's an added deal that I think that we're counting on, and I believe we'll see as we get into these tougher opponents and tougher defenses.
There's a lot of diversity receiving-wise. We saw flashes Saturday, C.J. Lewis. Noah Jordan Williams, a guy who had a great spring.
Right.
Those guys As you talk about kind of those transformational type recruits with speed, with size, they fit the role, don't they?
They do, and you know, you have Jeff and Kobe and Mike playing at a high level. And then we have, like, I call him all-purpose Ben Glines. I mean, he's in the backfield, he's in the wide receiver. He is a durable, you know, high repetition guy. And he's a 215-pound guy. So, you know, we have some, we have some speed, we have some skilled players. It's like I said, it's not just about the running back, it's not just about the quarterback. We have tight ends, we have receivers, and we have a really, I think, talented offensive line. So, you know, it's week 3. Now we're in the grind. This is where you start to sometimes suffer from the, you know, you get banged up and dinged up, and you have to get your depth right because there's going to be games to be had here shortly where you're going to need those people to come in and help you win a football game.
I was watching your next opponent, paying attention to some of the comments made post-game this week from their game, and there's a great deal of level of concern over the observation that it took Wake Forest deep into the third quarter to get their number ones out because of some issues they had with turnovers. And the coach made comment. He says, I know up at BC they're out in the first quarter. And it just occurred to me that, because you had mentioned it, getting enough activity in the last game, but not too much where you're going to go into this game with fresh legs. It seems like that might be something that you might be able to hang your hat on.
Well, we had fresh legs today. I thought we looked extremely explosive and fast today. We got to keep it that way. Everything we did was by design, and we were fortunate that it was able to. We were able to execute the design plan that we had for this, to play in a short week and keep ourselves, because we're on the road, you know, and that's even an added burden with this. But you know, hopefully that's going to pay dividends. But at the end of the day, we got to take care of the football. I think if we're a team that if we take care of the football and we can just get first downs so that we can keep the defense on the field, the rest of it will take care of itself, you know. And that's our goal. I mean, I guess that's everybody's goal, but that's really what we're trying to get done. Is there a concern with the kicking game? I know the punting game late hurt, but from Colton Lichtenberg's standpoint, is he hurt? He's been out, you know. So, you know, John Tess went in there and did a nice job, and Danny came in and did our kickoffs, and he did a really nice job. I mean, you know, the punt protection issues at the end, we had, you know, some of our third-team guys in there, and quite frankly, we had some guys that are inexperienced guys that cut some guys free. I mean, I was really aggravated about it, but I wasn't going to put our starters. See, we have a starting punt team, for example, and then we have a second team, and some of the second-team guys are actually starters. They're second-team guys. I wasn't putting them in the game. So then all of a sudden you're jumping to your threes, and it just, that's frustrating. But as people point out to me, my coaches, like, I get aggravated, but that's be happy that you can be aggravated over that. That means that things are going pretty well, you know. I was charting you guys yesterday, and it took a long time because a lot of people have numbers. I mean, some guys we have to look real deep. You know, I was like, wow, these guys have. So, which was, I guess you got to be pretty happy with the new rule, giving you the opportunity to. And I was just thinking like the opposite of that. The new rule gives you the opportunity to put kids in games, get a look at them, and you're not going to burn a red shirt. And at the appropriate time, you kind of put them back on the shelf. You get a flavor for what they have. In prior to the season, you would have been really stretched. Playing kids that maybe didn't have to and running the risk of injury. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the new rule, no doubt about it, you know. But as the head coach, those games, they get hard now. You know, you get into the third and fourth quarter and you're like, wow. I mean, it becomes like completely stressful for who's in the game, who's not in the game, and everything that's going on. But it's given these young guys a real taste and a real flavor, and guys are getting a lot of playing time. At the end of the day, that all makes you better. You know, so I'm really jacked about it, you know. But pretty soon, some of these guys we're going to have to start making decisions with here, you know, because, you know, I don't know that you just want to blow out the 4 games. You know, I think you want to blow the 4 games on the guys that you're going to end up playing, but you'd like to save a game or 2 for the guys that you don't think will end up playing, and maybe give them a little run at the end of the year in a bowl game or something if you're fortunate enough to get there, right? So it's new uncharted waters. It is, but certainly going to be a fun week. BC and Wake Forest coming up. We'll talk more about it with the coach, Steve Addazio, and we'll also hear from one of the all-time BC greats coming up next from Jake and Joe's in Waltham.
And great to have you with us on the BC Football Show. Another good crowd at Jake and Joe's in Waltham. We invite everybody out here every Monday night from 7 to 8 here on the BC IMG Sports Network. And you know what? One of the great parts of Jake and Joe's on a Monday night is you always see the BC Gridiron Club here. They support the Football Eagles. Benefits include home game, tailgates, away game, venue bashes, and unprecedented team and program access. Sign up today, bcfootballgridiron.com. Paul Criscione, Don Terrian, and a cast of thousands always out here supporting the group. We appreciate their support. And Pete Cronin, John Perrell, look at this, a rose amongst thorns.
I wouldn't consider Coach York a thorn.
No, he's certainly not.
Kidding me?
There's no doubt about that.
A long snapper. A
long snapper. This guy needs no introduction. Jerry York, Hall of Famer, everybody's favorite hockey coach in New England. 2017-2018 Hockey East regular season champs. You were the Hockey East Coach of the Year, the New England Coach of the Year. Coming off another blockbuster season. Good to see you, Coach.
Yeah, I'm just surviving because the Gridiron Club sent over these chickens are the hottest I've ever had. And Barry Gallup and myself were looking for more water. So I want to thank the Gridiron Club and Paul Criscione especially for that.
Well, it's cold.
Hot chicken.
It's cold in Conti Farm, isn't it? You can bring that down there. You warm you right up.
Yeah.
Your mouth's on fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing people might not know about this guy, he, I think, maybe in a past life wanted to be a football coach. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I still got time.
You still have time.
They added another assistant last year. I thought Steve was going to call me, but he didn't call. They added, what, the 12th assistant?
Why not?
Or 24th assistant? How many they
There's
got
plenty of them. Don't worry.
There's a few of them, but we've seen you on many road trips in years past. I remember you down in Clemson a couple years ago. What's football mean in your life?
Oh, I love football. Grew up an avid fan. Played a little bit of freshman football at BC High until Jim Carter moved me to, you're better at hockey and baseball, so I slid away. Those weren't my, but I love football. And I particularly college football. Like, I still think that wasn't a touchback the other night, Clemson, Texas A&M. The ball was over. I find that hard to believe, but, one of the things I like to bring up, I went to the a banquet. BC had a banquet for honor scholarship donors, and Max Richardson sat next to me. The first time I've had a chance to meet with him. What an unbelievable young guy he is. I know he's an outstanding football player, but just as a young guy from Atlanta, and tell me all the choices he had to make. And he said, at the very end, I had to decide. We rattled off 5 or 6 very, very good schools, football schools, academic schools, and said, hey, Coach Addazio just made it the perfect fit for me, and he chose Boston College.
And Pete and I talk about that all the time in terms of the impressive arsenal of athletes at BC. You have a lot of them on your hockey team. Steve Addazio has a lot. Jim Christian has a lot. You can go all the way down every roster at BC. These kids are impressive because they're well balanced. They're talented in many different areas. It's not just about athletics, Coach.
Yeah, and two sports too. A.J. Dillon's thinking of coming over and helping us on defense this winter. So
can he skate?
You can do anything else.
It's like the old commercial. Bo can do it. Remember Bo was skating with the LA Kings?
Yeah.
Why not?
No question. No question.
What an impressive run that was to open up with. Oh, wow. I was sitting there watching it. And
that's why his appearance was relatively brief.
Yes.
Yeah. I think there was they were being kind to the visiting team, and it worked out okay. But let's talk about the hockey team. I think we touched on it. You recruit to a great venue, one of the most competitive leagues in college hockey. You've got tremendous history here, but it's very competitive when you go recruiting because you get a lot of kids have a lot of options out there. Beyond the obvious, you're looking for a certain type of kid too, aren't you?
We certainly are. And sometimes you never know, but they choose BC because, hey, I want to watch some terrific football in the ACC. I want to watch the basketball play in the ACC. So that move from the Big East a number of years ago has paid a lot of dividends for us because right down the wire, they're looking at, hey, position and playing time and the proximity. But they're also saying, geez, I can play with, someone like Matt Ryan, get familiar with that, or Jerome Robinson. I think it's a big thing for us and I'm sure football feels the same way sometimes. It's, your winners are going to be watching hockey and basketball, and, what a great last 2 Saturdays for our hockey team to bond together watching the football team.
And one of your top recruits this year is a guy that's, I think, a YouTube sensation. Oliver Wahlstrom is his name, and now, what does he do? Is it trick shots?
He scores goals.
Which is what you're looking for.
Yeah, some guys score touchdowns. He scores goals, But it's been terrific to watch early. We have, I think, 2 real high-impact freshmen, and Jack McBain, a center iceman from Toronto, and Oliver Wahlstrom, a young guy out of, we grew up in Maine, but they moved 5-6 years ago to Quincy. So he's kind of a local kid, but he's first-round pick of the Islanders. And I talked to Lou Lamorello, who's, of course, our old friend from Providence.
Sure.
And I said, geez, let him stay and mature. Let him just have some time with us. So
back off a little bit.
Yeah, but I wasn't sure he was listening.
Now your kids are. It's an interesting dynamic in hockey where you got all these. Most of the kids you bring in are already drafted. They've got a place to go in the NHL, and is from what I gather, from what I hear, is the college hockey, the level that you play and the conference you play in, is as good as any developmental option for these kids.
Right, and the pro teams, similar to baseball. I guess baseball a little bit different in the draft, but they have their teams that have been chosen and drafted by, but our focus is to make them really concentrate on Boston College, and for the most part it's working. They want to win championships here. They want to get a good education, and but they have some options that we have to understand.
So you're in a state of it's the new reality, not new,
right.
But you're always in a state of flux. Rarely you're going to get 3 seasons out of a kid before they jump. You don't get too many 4-year kids anymore, do you?
The high-end players, 3 years is
max, right?
Yeah, I mean Kreider or Schneider, the Hayes boy. But if they get to 3, I think they can, not easily, but they can get the degree with just minimum amount of work.
Right.
It's someone that leaves early. It's hard, but we've got some really good players this year. I think it's going to be a very good team. We only lose 1 senior from last year's team. Everybody's back, and it's as good a freshman class as we've had. So we open up right at Wisconsin Friday and Saturday.
Talk about the heat.
The very first 2 games. We'll find out real quick how we are.
Well, it starts.
Which is good.
All coaches say it always starts in the back, and you work your way up, I guess. Joseph Woll, your goalie, where does he rank, you think, in guys that you've coached?
Well, I think he's right with Schneider and Demko. He's outstanding, and he's a junior with us, a really good student, property of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So we probably figure this might, we're trying to look on the board. If he decides to stay, it'll be a bonus for us. But he's an outstanding. It gives us that ability to win a game from the net out.
Yeah, no, it's an outstanding group. It looks like Casey Fitzgerald, another guy who has an NHL pedigree with his father, Tom, good defensive player. How tough is it, Coach? You got a guy like Oliver Wahlstrom coming in who obviously scores goals, but you're no doubt stressing defense. Is it tough to coach that?
Well, he's a goal scorer, so we're going to encourage him to still be an offensive player.
Right.
But he's got to work on other parts of his game, and I think he understands that, and at least he appears to understand that. So,
demanding two-way player, right?
Yeah. Without the puck, you're still going to be a good player. So, but I think he's going to be a very, very good player for us this year, and like I said, I think our team's going to be good this year, and. But we're not afraid to say that either. I tell the kids that you don't brag about it, but don't be afraid to say, hey, yeah, we are good, and work off that.
That's a very competitive league you're in. I mean, you go down right across the board. It's anybody's conference at the beginning of the season. Obvious natural rivals, Boston University being one. Who else do you think is going to be? Probably everybody's going to be a headache out early.
Yeah, I think Providence and Boston University looks like Northeastern's starting to really become a factor. So, like Steve's always talked about, the ACC brings out the very best in you. You have to be ready every single week. And exact same thing with our hockey. We don't have many that we can show up without our A game and advance.
Yep, and which makes it great for the fans, because they're always seeing great hockey.
Absolutely.
Were you surprised to see David Quinn go to the Rangers?
I was more surprised he took my assistant, Greg Brown, with him. Yeah. But with that being said, I was a little bit surprised, but it was a terrific deal for David. And by Greg going to the Rangers, it opened up an opportunity for us to hire an assistant. And we think we hit a home run with Brendan Buckley, a former captain of mine, graduated in '99, just outstanding. But he's been with Mike Cavanaugh for the last 3 years as an assistant. So when I called Mike, he says, we're not talking here. We're not going to talk about Brendan Buckley. You don't want him. He's lousy, you know. He's awful. Just leave me alone, will you?
Well, you've got a nice lineage tree. Guys are on all over that fell out of the Jerry York tree.
Yeah, well, the Peter Corner tree, whatever.
I don't know. I don't have it. There's no tree here.
He's got broadcasters under his umbrella.
Yeah, well, look what all my partners that I've done wonderful things for. You know, like Gil Santos. You know, Sean McDonough, another one.
Yeah,
you know, kidding me, Sean Grady.
All the way down the list. Go ahead.
John Mita Perrell.
Go ahead.
John Mita Perrell. So there you go.
And welcome back to the Peter Cronin Show.
You knew who was going to go there, Coach.
I know.
Yeah.
Hey, Jerry, great to see you. Home opener is?
Yeah, Wisconsin. We're at Wisconsin, so it's the weekend after Wisconsin.
There you go. All right, we'll be looking for it, Coach. Great luck this year. Always a pleasure. The Hall of Famer, Jerry York.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks for joining us on the BC Football Show. As we gear up for BC and Wake Forest, hopefully by tomorrow there might be a decision based on what the weather will bring. We are all amateur meteorologists. Pete has always played a meteorologist. I know you have.
I play one on TV.
Yes, you have. You have that big degree from BC, so you're qualified.
4 years, Bachelor of Arts. Yeah, you're questioning.
I'm not questioning anything. I think it's a big-time achievement.
Oh, thank you. Are you suggesting that?
From an Ithaca
I wasn't
guy.
that smart. Oh, say no more. Bombardier, whatever they call you guys.
The Bombers. As
huh?
Coach Addazio knows, another Division III powerhouse. But the keys to the game are brought to you by the all-new McGovern Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram, now owned by BC alum Matt McGovern, a guy you know well, Coach. Great selection of over 400 cars to choose from. 777 Washington Street in Newton or at McGovernJeep.com. You're a gearhead, aren't you? You love cars.
I love cars. Yeah, Matt's an awesome guy, and he's got so many different stores, but certainly the Jeep store, I mean, there's no hotter vehicles out there than the Jeeps and the Citadels, and just fantastic. They're great people, too. They really treat you like your family.
Yes, they do, and you always see a BC person in there whenever you're in there, but Wake Forest 2-0, BC 2-0. What do you have to do to win your first conference game? Well,
assuming the weather won't be good, I think you're going to have to take care of the football. I think when you play, if in fact we go into a bad weather game, I think that people, you got to be able to run the ball, you got to be able to take care of the ball, because that becomes monumental in those games. So that's something we'll have to do. Take the weather out of it. I just think we need to continue to do what we do, which is play with tempo and attack all areas of the field, and on defense be relentless, physical, run to the football. And in special teams, I think we haven't created any explosions in special teams. I think it's time that we start to see some explosive special teams play.
Got a pretty formidable character on their special teams. Greg Dortch, 2 punt returns for touchdowns last weekend. He's got 4 consecutive 200-plus yard all-purpose yardage games. So this guy is the real deal.
Yeah, he is. He's the real deal. I mean, he's as good as anybody in the conference, better. Electric, explosive as a receiver, as a returner. I mean, by far a guy that, we have to have full attention on, or he'll hurt you fast.
Yeah, no question. And they're starting a true freshman quarterback, but now it'll be his 3rd start. I've had a chance to watch some tape on him, and he's got I read some of your comments today. He's got the it factor. He definitely has got that intangible where he's a playmaker. But that's an interesting challenge for your defense.
It's not too big for him, that's for sure. So he runs that offense really, really well, and we're going to have to turn it up on him. I mean, when you get a young guy, you got to do the best you can to make it uncomfortable for him, and don't give him exactly what he thinks he's going to get.
Now, I wouldn't expect that your guys need any further encouragement around being aware of how important this game is for them.
No. I mean, our guys have been great. I mean, they approached the UMass game with an unbelievable mindset. They approached Holy Cross with an unbelievable mindset, and they'll approach this with the same thing. Yeah.
And Wake Forest is, people may consider you guys similar. Dave Clawson, 5th year, you're 6th year. Both did a great job rebuilding the programs. Do you consider that similar type programs?
I mean, I think what's happened is that's what somebody asked me, I think, today in the press conference, or was it today? I'm losing track of time.
It was, yeah.
And I think, you know, given the fact that both programs are rebuilt themselves and both programs are growing and want to make strides in the league, I think, you know, someone said, is there a natural rivalry? I think there's a rivalry amongst, you know, both programs to get into the elite levels of the conference.
Yeah, and on defense, what type of challenges do they present?
Well, they've always been really good on defense. I mean, I just think it's one of the better coached defenses, and they're in the same scheme they've been in, and Mike Elko did a great job there, went to Notre Dame, now he's at Texas A&M, and I just think that they're well put together on defense. You know, they know what they're doing, and I think they're very, you know, a very quarterback-driven offense. Obviously, there's some really good playmakers, and they too have a veteran offensive line. So I mean, I think these, you know, both teams have got components to make them have successful years.
One thing that they're dealing with, Pete and Steve, is the fact that they have 7 guys out with a torn ACL, including their outstanding lineman Justin Herron, who went down last week, and some key players in key spots, and that's a coach's nightmare, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to see that happen to anybody, but certainly the last thing you want is for anybody's a run of ACL tears. I mean, you know, it's rough, but we've all been there, you know, dealing with rashes of injuries, and I just hear that stuff and I cringe. You know, we went through it last year, and certainly don't want to go through it again.
Well, there you talk about comparing the two programs, and from where I sit, there are many similarities between these two schools. The way they approach the program, they place a premium on the academic experience, the complete experience of the student athlete, where maybe you're not always getting that in the ACC. The priorities seem to be aligned with Boston colleges. So there's over the years, from my perspective, what's occurred is I think there's a mutual disrespect between you two schools. You know, well, we can beat you. Wake, we're going to beat Wake, and Wake sits in PC. We don't lose sleep over them, and you end up having a pretty good rivalry.
Yeah.
You know, these games they're knuckle biters. These are really tough competition.
They have been, for sure. And you know, last year, you know, we went through the flip end of things. We had to break in the new center and stuff, and they played really well. And you know, we're pretty unhappy about that game last year. You know, so certainly a lot of motivation here.
That's always good to carry a little motivation around.
Yeah. Stay on the edge a little bit. It's not a bad thing.
No. So
always looking for that little extra, right? Especially in a week like this.
Yeah. You never want to be too content, you know. And I think if you're happy and content, that you're not moving forward. So that's my motto, to spice things up with everybody. You know, don't let anybody get feeling too good.
Little bite.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
that's why I always keep a stone in my shoe.
Yeah.
Because, if things
Is
are going...
that why you walk like you do?
Yeah.
It's a big stone.
That's not a big stone. It's just big enough so if things are going too well, I step in that stone and it reminds me. Things really, they could be worse.
You know, there's been news anchors who...
At least you put the stone in your shoe. God forbid it was anywhere else.
Yeah.
Some would argue there's some stones in my head, but that's neither here nor there.
Oh, man, Pete. There's plenty there. There's no doubt about that. In years past, you've
plenty of stones.
Oh, yeah.
Rocks.
It would take us hours to dissect him.
Yeah.
But in years past, you've talked about the ACC as the best conference in America. You still feel that way?
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, right now, there's a lot of talented teams in this conference. You know, Duke went out and beat Northwestern, and there's a lot of talented teams in the conference. And you saw Clemson and Texas A&M square off. So, I mean, this is, and then I think each year we say it, and once again this year, most draft picks out of the SEC, second most out of the ACC. So it's a tough conference. It
is. It's going to be a heck of a game. We look forward to it, Coach. Safe travels to all. Thursday night, tentatively. Check bceagles.com for more information tomorrow. Special thanks, as always,
Thank you.
to Steve Addazio. Good luck.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks.
He's Pete Cronin. I'm John Mita Perel. Producer Steve Ciaccio, Jason Baum, Barry Gallup, Paul Criscione. Mike Wynn, we can name them all. And also, special thanks back in the studio, Wolf Goki, for all his help. Join us on Thursday at 7 on the BCIMG Sports Network, 7:30, our kickoff time. And catch us next Monday at Jake and Joe's in Waltham at 7. Have a great week, everybody, and go Eagles.